walk out on that field today, ask yourself this question. What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Let's go! We made it! We made it! We made it! We made it! And let's go to the house! And let's go to the house! When I step on the field, I send one message. And this is what it feels like. This is what it feels like. Football is getting hit. That's it. It's gonna be football now. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Let's hunt now. Let's hunt now. Let's go. Let's hunt. We made it. And let's go to the house. And let's go to the house. We're talking about the Jets like we're talking about the Saints. You know, all this, how like we the Miami Heat of football. Yeah. The bottom line is you got to buckle up your chin strap. It's embarrassing. Yeah. Don't disrespect the game like that. There's too much crying from them. He's a man. They can be hit just like us. He's a man. You already make the big money. He's a man. Don't cry when you step on the field, man. That's war out there. When I step on the field, I send one message. This is what it feels like. Oh, my bad. Your bad don't work in my world. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. We made it. And let's go to the house. And let's go to the house. It's a wrap. Game over.
It's a wrap, and you are here with Johnnie Cole with the HBCU Stroll, and I got a dear friend of mine coming on. I'm going to call him a rookie. Me and him is actually changing spots. He used to be an analyst, and I remember him calling some games for me, and now we switching spots, and he got the hat. My friend, the head coach. The newly head coach of his alma mater, Eddie Robinson. What's going on, man? What's happening?
Hey, man, it's like you said, it's game time, and this is the week of the first game, so everybody loves that opening week. Everybody's undefeated. I'm undefeated as a coach, so we're trying to keep it that way. But now it's been a great experience, and now you get all of that hard work, and at some point you want to see where you're at, how you measure up.
Yeah, for first week, game week, first time being a coach, first time leading your alma mater. Man, I know you got to be feeling a little nervous, a little anxious, and I know that's why we played that music to get you fired up.
Yeah. But no, man, it's we coming from that Jeff Fisher, Greg Williams, those guys, Eddie Robinson, Houston Markhams. Just trying to get the team prepared for everything, the team and myself for that matter. So, we spent Saturday and then Sunday kind of, rehearsing the whole game script. It rained, which was great. So we got to have a good practice in the rain. So in case it rains on Saturday. So you, as a coach, how it is. Especially that first game, you're trying to cover everything that could happen because football is like, especially in the kicking game, it's those once every 5-year things that come up. And the kid makes a mistake, and as a coach, you feel like, man, I let him down because we didn't cover that. So we're just trying to cover all those situations. I think the more you prepare, then you're not nervous. I think when the games as a player, but I went into nervous is because I wasn't prepared. When I was prepared, it was like whatever happens, we're gonna make an adjust, we're gonna pivot and make it work.
Yeah, I know you saying prepared and all that good stuff, but it goes without saying this is the first one. And this is your first one, your first week. You ain't got nothing to reach back for besides that. You were a great player. I remember coaching against you. I know that's got to have some that's that one thing about man. I don't have no experience doing this, but I know hard work will pay off.
Yeah, that's the thing, and I got some experienced guys on the staff. I mean, you got Coach Ruffin, who's been a head coach a couple places, Coach DeAndre Clark. So Miles Brandon was a head coach. So I mean, I think I had to surround myself with some experienced guys who could help get over that. So when you have that question, like I ain't seen this before, I mean, and I think that's just part of it in life. You know, you're always looking for that person that's kind of been there. You don't want to make the same mistake that the other guys made. So the good thing with me, I'm smart enough to know that I don't know everything. So I'm not an ego guy. So you know, I'm gonna always yield to those guys. Hey man, this is what I think. You know, you've been doing it a lot of different places. Give me your opinion. Are we on the right track? We need to pivot a little bit, make that adjustment, and then once you kind of get all that information, you know, my motto in life has always been you make the best decision with the information you have at the time. That way you don't regret like tomorrow. Oh, well, everybody can sit up here, you know, Monday morning. Yeah, I should have did that. Okay, that's nice. But in the heat of the battle, you know what I'm saying? you got that 40-second clock working. You can't think about what would have happened or should have happened. So, you know.
Right. Talking about your staff, you know, I know all those guys. I know you got a super staff. You put together a great team from young to the old. You know, I got to talk about the ones that have played for me.
Yeah, that seems like about half of them, right?
James Williams, my guy, played running back at Texas Southern University. His first time as a coach.
Yep.
I know he's great with the kids. I know what type of person he is. What's your take on Coach Williams?
So I mean, it's kind of funny, you know. James and I, we came into college at the same time. You know, I'm from New Orleans. He's from Baton Rouge. He was at Texas Southern, I was at Alabama State. So we played against each other all 4 years in college. And so going on the SWAC media tour, so that's how him and I became friends my junior year. And so, and then just keep playing. You know, Texas Southern would always give Alabama State fits, man, as you know, and he brings up to me all the time, right? So,
right.
And him and I played together with the Oilers, so our relationship goes way back. And he was really big with the flag football, which, as you know, is super competitive. A lot of those 3, 4, and 5-star kids came through his program. So I think his relationship with the kids is just, I mean, I can't even talk about it. I mean, the kids love him. I mean, not just the corners, but it's like the whole team kind of gravitates to him. So you need that guy that goes beyond the X's and O's, and that's a person that I know that if a kid has a trouble, that's the coach that they're going to go talk to. So you need those coaches on the staff. So,
yeah. Speaking of James, I contribute to his dress code, so I know he dressed real well.
Man, it's like, you know, when he first got here, the coach is looking at him like, man, we just got a meeting day, we got practice day. But as you know, because you know he's a fashion forward type of guy. Let's just say that. And so it's gotten to the point now where coach is like, hey, James, what you gonna wear tomorrow? Let me try to get. So now they're dressing like him. So, but you know, one thing you know about James, man, he's comfortable with being himself, and he's not gonna change for the room. He's gonna be himself and make the room change around him, and you love that out of a person.
Right. Well, I have to go to Bam Richardson, Coach Richardson. Bam was played offensive line for us. He was a leader. Bam could close a deal on recruiting. So I know on the recruiting edge, he's getting it done.
Yeah, and then, you know, Bam was the recruiting coordinator at Michigan, helped those guys. And so, I mean, as far as him, you know, knowing people in the city of Montgomery and around in Prattville, I mean, that's a guy, you know how it is when you're building a team, you see those guys up front, you see the guys catching the touchdowns, you know, you see me at a press conference, but it's those guys like a Bam that's behind the scenes, that's working hard at it. You know, making those phone calls late at night, building those relationships. So by the time the kid gets on campus or we talk to him, I mean, most of the hard work is done. You know, we're just trying not to mess it up at that point. You know what I'm saying? He's already built the relationship.
Bam is a closer. And then the one that's most dear to my heart, you know, your wide receiver coach, played for me at Lane, first All-American at Lane College, first, and I shouldn't say first team. He first player to get drafted from Lane in 100 years of football. Third round choice. This man won offensive player of the year, special team player of the year, conference player of the year. Workaholic, played with the Ravens. My guy, my son, I could say, Jacoby Jones.
Yeah, man, and that was just you know, we needed a wide receiver coach, and talking with Coach Williams, you know, Harry Williams, they played together at the Texans, and he was at Tuskegee and Lane. So he's like, man, what you think about Jacoby Jones? I was like, I'm slapping myself in the face. Like, how did I not think of Jacoby? I was mad at myself that I didn't think about him. And so I was like, man,
I think me and you talked about it before.
We did. Yeah. So, I mean, but Jacoby, I I mean, I call that my dream team. Like when me, so just think about it. So me, Jacoby, and Harry, we go out on the road recruiting. So we're going down, we're hitting all those New Orleans schools, and this is when I'm first getting the job. So this is like January. So I mean, we're going to these schools in Mobile, like the Vigors, the Blunts, the Floors, and we're talking to these kids, like at the Warren Eastons, the St. Augustine. So I was like, hey, you got 3 HBCU guys that were all walk-ons that all played in the NFL. I mean, you got like 25 years of NFL experience between the 3 of us. Right. So I don't think too many Power 5 schools can sit in front a kid and say that. Now, Jacoby's always, they'll look at me and Harry, but when they see Jacoby, it's like the eyes light up. Jacoby Jones, Dancing with the Stars, Super Bowl. So I don't think he realizes how big a name he is. And so, I mean, he's the guy when he goes into like any high school or college. I mean, it's just like it's huge, man. The kids love him, the parents know him. He doesn't realize how big a name he has, which is great. But I mean, he's doing a great job. He wears his cleats to every practice. So I mean, his effort level is like, he still think he could play.
Hey, Coach, we're gonna have to get him out of that now. We're gonna have to get him out of that.
Yeah, but I mean, he's definitely, I mean, the enthusiasm that he plays to it, and like I told him, I said, man, we got a guy that had 308-yard returns in the NFL. I said, we better never catch a kickoff return. We taking it out as long as it ain't in the back of the end zone. It could be 109.5. We better bring it out. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I had a rule when I coached him. I told him we gonna return every punt, and nobody better not return it. And so if they script kicked it, we would catch it, pitch it, and pitch it 2 or 3 times.
I mean, but for the kids on campus, I mean, you're talking about, Super Bowl legend, and I mean, to have a guy like that teaching you how to return punts and kicks, I mean, it's invaluable. And we have some returners that can get it done. Santo Dunn came over from Morehouse. He was the SIAC Player of the Year. You got Levante Chenault, who came from Colorado, came out of DeSoto High. So I mean, we got some guys that could bring it. So I mean, we've put a huge emphasis on special teams, and we expecting it to pay off for us.
Well, you can't go without saying, and I would love to be in your shoes, to going in a game with your quarterback. Let's talk about your quarterback.
Yeah, well, the quarterback, I mean, that's it. I mean, you got to have one. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, I mean, I think Demetrius Davis, he's really stepped up. I mean, he got a little bit more maturing to do. Just as a player, he hasn't had a college start yet. So, I mean, but you see the body of work in high school. I mean, it's right there. So looking for great things from him. I mean, the good things, we do have a running game. So I talked to him this morning. I said, hey, don't feel like you got to throw for 300. Let it come to you. Check down is my friend. You know what I'm saying? And so our offense is almost like that West Coast type of offense where you can get the ball out your hands fast. And then, as a linebacker, you get frustrated. They keep hitting you with those check downs. Check what you do. You start coming up. Then you get them with that big play over the top. And then when the other kid, Miles Crawley, I mean, he's been doing great too. And you love it when you bring another player in, especially at that quarterback position, because you're usually gonna play one, and the other guy steps up his game. So Miles has really stepped up his game, and he's the guy that definitely gonna touch the field in some kind of form or fashion. He just comes and works hard every day. And so I love having those guys to push each other. And so. And I think that's what I love about the team. And we were really good back in '91. I mean, if you missed a practice or a game, then you may lose your spot. There's only one person, and that was Ricky Jones, who knew that was our quarterback. That was guaranteed. So everybody else knew if you missed a practice or a game, that backup might take your spot. So we're kind of getting to that level. And when you have that level of competition, that's when you push each other, and the whole team becomes great.
Well, we're gonna get to Ricky them later when you was on that championship team. But that's good. You got a quarterbacking duel that you feel comfortable. Tell everybody what Davis. In these days' time, everything is about transfers and Power 5 kids going to schools, or whether it's high or low. And tell us, where he's from.
Yeah, I mean, coming out of North Shore High School, I mean, Demetrius Davis was a 4-star kid. 53-3 as a high school player, the all-time winningest, quarterback in Texas history. So that says a lot with the players who come through there. So the thing about it, I mean, a lot of these guys do so much 7-on-7, which is great for quarterbacks. That's like the perfect league for quarterbacks. You get to see the whole field. It's not like just going out with a receiver. When we play, you just go as your quarterback and receive a couple of guys. Now they get to see a whole 7-on-7, and implement everything again and again. So, but I mean, his success in Texas, I mean, a couple state championships, just a great career. Went to Auburn when Gus Malzahn was just leaving, so he never was able to be coached by the coach that recruited him. So just didn't fit in with the new system and all, and so we were fortunate enough to get him. Wish we would have got him mid-year, but he wasn't in the portal yet. So once he did go into the portal, he was up here in the summer. So it's just, picking up the rest of the nuances. He has the offense, but of course, as always, the more you can rep it, the better he'll be. But I mean, you can see that the talent is there. Typical dude threat guy. He's not the tallest of guys, but hey, he can still make the plays in the air and running the football. So that's what I like. To me, for a SWAC quarterback, because the defensive ends are undersized, really fast, can run. To me, you got to have a quarterback that can get moving. I mean, it's not too many guys in the SWAC over the last 20, 30 years who've been a pure pocket passer who's been successful. Most of the really good ones, the Kincaids and those type of guys, they've been get out the pocket guys so they can take off it. And I think that's what we got to have at the quarterback position.
Man, we on the eve of the week of the MEAC Challenge between Alabama State and Howard Bisons. Coach, I was so excited. I forgot to tell you, thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
And look, the HBC Stroll got the first interview, and we definitely be down there coming this Friday. Let's talk. Every time you hear now about the SWAC, you hear about Jackson State, and they get this guy and this guy and this guy. I had the pleasure of coming down for spring, spend time with you and your staff and watch spring game. And I seen some dudes. So if you talk about some of those guys that transferred in.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we signed about 18 freshman kids, probably had about another 12 or so that walked on. So probably got about 30 or 35 freshmen on campus. But I mean, right now, everything is with the portal. You have to take advantage of it. So I think I talked about Chenault earlier. Darius Edmonds is another wide receiver that transferred from University of Houston, a Tascasita kid. Ray Curry, offensive lineman that came in from Arkansas. So I think we kind of really got those couple of guys that we needed at those key positions. Michael Victor is a guy that transferred from UNLV. Kind of started off rough in the spring, but then he came back in the fall over the summer. And I think what happens, you look at all of the SWAC, everybody's gotten better. You look at, I'm sure every coach feels like I'm better than last year, right? Because you got these transfer kids and stuff like that. But it's kind of like, you better, yeah, right? So if you got them all. But to me, I look at it like the whole NFL free agency. And what happened when the free agency first came in, everybody would spend a whole lot of money. Hey, I want to buy a good team. But you really can't buy a good team because you can have a lot of great players, but great players don't make a great team. So we spent a lot of time in the offseason working on team chemistry, taking them bowling, having cookouts on campus every Wednesday, taking them to the Legacy Museum downtown. So to me, you have to do those type of things to have those individuals because, you got to think it's two dynamics. You have that Power 5 guy who feel like I should come to the SWAC and dominate, right? Not realizing that we got some pretty good players in the SWAC. So you may not just dominate like you think, right? But then you have your existing players who started last year who are thinking, this dude ain't taking my spot, right? So you got that natural, that natural just competitiveness that goes on. So you got to make all of those guys realize that, hey, we're going to survive as a team. So, everybody has their individual goals. Coaches have their individual goals. I have some coordinators who want to be head coaches. I have position coaches who want to be coordinators. So everybody has their individual goals, but what happens is, if the whole team, if we all put our individual goals second and let the team goal go first, once you reach that team goal, and I tell the kids, it's like, hey, man, we win the conference and got a couple 1,000-yard rushers, then everybody gets to be all conference. The whole offensive line will be all conference. But when you finish 4 and 7, you don't get no all conference players. And so it's like put the team goals first, then everybody to get their individual goals. So really, I think in the SWAC right now is going to be a really who did the best job of team building in the offseason, who got those individuals, the new guys and the old guys, to bond together and really care about each other and then be a really good team. Because that team building is special, man. And if you've been on teams where the guys really cared about each other and that unselfishness, we don't care who scored a touchdown as long as we win. Because I've been on teams from the other side where somebody gets a sack and it's like, hey, I got my sack. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not, hey, man, we gave up 30 points, but I got my sack. You know what I'm saying? I got my incentive. So, And so we don't want that my and I type stuff. So that's what we're really working on.
Wow, man, that's very important to make sure that everybody working towards the same goal. That's one of my things. What I used to say all the time is, when you get the ring, the only thing changed on the ring is your name.
That's it.
You
That's
know what I
it.
mean? And after 10 years down the road, you can say you the one scored the winning touchdown and
Yeah,
never
yeah.
played.
Hey, that story gets bigger and bigger. But I tell the guys, me playing in the NFL 11 years, every time I come back from Alabama State, even now, nobody sits up here and says, "Oh, Eddie Robinson, you played with the Oilers and played in the Super Bowl." All they tell me, "Hey, man, you was part of that Markham team. Boy, that 91 team was something else." That's all they want to talk about. So they look at me as a guy that was part of a championship team. They could give a damn about me going to the NFL and doing all of that. They're thinking about, when this guy's at Alabama State, he won a championship. So I'm trying to get the guys to realize, once you win the championship, you're a champion forever. No matter what else you do in your life, you're still part of that championship team, and that's going to surpass anything that you do as an individual. So, and that's the beauty of team sports, and football especially, because you got so many guys contributing towards one goal.
Of course, I sit over there in your seat, or at least next to your seat, and had some success at Alabama State. That city and those alumni, they deserve a championship. I mean, they really love it. I remember from the time when I was a player and seeing the basketball team. I had a chance to play, basketball for Texas Southern. And back in those days, they used to have blazers for the players.
Right,
so that place, how you feel about that? You alumni. I know when I got that job, that was the happiest time of my life. I see you smiling.
Yeah,
Tell me
man.
about that, how that feel.
I mean, cold-blooded football, man. They still talking about that. I think they still got the shirts out. So I mean, you probably can come out here and sell them shirts tomorrow, and people buy them. So I mean,
I love that town. I love that town.
And so now, when you and your brother was here, man, it was a special moment. I think everybody enjoyed it. I mean, the atmosphere that y'all brought to the city, the excitement, and of course, I knew you guys when y'all were at Tennessee State, because I was with the Titans that year. Right. So I kind of saw you guys win the championship in the OVC, then come over to Alabama State. So, I mean, we want to get it back to that level of excitement where people are excited to go to the game. It's kind of what they want to do, is that you're looking forward to it. You got the Alabama and Auburn game and all that type of stuff, but the Alabama State, the Magic City Classic, Turkey Day Classic, Labor Day, Jackson FAMU coming here, homecoming, it's going to be a great atmosphere. And I'm like you, man, we've won 2 championships in almost 40 years of being in the conference. So the perception is that Alabama State is a football powerhouse. The reality is we've won a championship in 91 and we've won one in 04. So you're talking about almost 20 years since we won our last championship. So I'm like you, it's like, you can say what we deserve, but we got to go out there and earn it. The rest of the swag don't give a damn that we deserve a championship, right? So, Jackson trying to win another one. So it's, Southern, Graham, and everybody else. So that's my message to the kids, that we look at the stadium's 10 years old, man. We ain't put a banner in there since it opened up. And so, and that's the type of message that I'm saying, that our goal is to win the championship. You can't go into it like we want to do better than last year. We want to have a winning season. You have to put the mark out there. And whether you succeed or not, you've set the goal. And so now you do everything you can to get to it. So to me, I'm not going to sleep till we win the championship. I'm like you. The city deserves it. Everybody wants it. So now we just got to work hard to make it happen. So
yeah, I need another reason to come in town to visit.
Exactly. Man, you still a legend down here, man. You just show up. You don't need a reason to come.
Hey, 1991. I'm taking you back. What, 19 years old, 20 years old? And man, y'all put together, man, Coach Markham, who's the field house named after, couldn't be a better person. The opportunity I had a chance to meet Coach Markham, man, just kind of go through that. Did you feel like y'all was gonna be national champ? Because y'all had a hell of a football team.
Yeah, I mean, that team was a bunch of freshmen coming in '88, and I played offensive guard my freshman year, so we were just rebuilding the program. It was like any warm body could come. So we had about 50 freshmen, and back then you get as many as you can. You practice 3-4 times a day, and the ones that didn't quit, you had a good team. So that's basically what he did. The ones that didn't quit, that stuck around for 4 years, man, it just we have that bond forever. But when we came in 1990, we beat Jackson and Grambling, and ended up losing to Texas Southern and couldn't win the championship, right? So I mean, it was going into that 91 team, it was like championship or bust. You know, we were all seniors for the most part and had been around there. And so started off a little slow with the offense, but won a couple close games and ended up tying Texas Southern. So it's like they're that thorn in our side. But then after that, once we got rolling, I mean, we started putting up some points. And I mean, you probably had, I mean, Ricky Jones, I mean, you're talking about a guy that got drafted in the 7th round as a safety and hadn't played since high school. So that, he was the Michael Vick before Michael Vick. I mean, if, you know, back then, the black quarterback was not getting drafted to play in the NFL. I think you may have had Warren Moon and what's my guy with the Eagles, Cunningham. So it was a totally different day and time. He was before his era, but you know, in that RPO system right there, is no doubt he'd have got drafted as a quarterback and had a successful career. But he was the guy that really made the whole team go. But Coach Markham had worked us to the point that once we got going, it was no stopping us. And went on to the first Heritage Bowl and played North Carolina A&T and represented the SWAC well. And now is our chance to represent the SWAC again, once again in that MEAC SWAC Challenge. Lost your audio, Coach. Can't hear you. I can't hear you. I think you have your mute button on.
All right.
There you go.
Can I hear you now?
Yeah, I got you.
I'm sorry, man. Let's talk about the SWAC Challenge game. Did you have a chance to see and visit and look at Howard on film, and what you think about them?
Yeah, man. Well, you know, as a head coach, you have a million other things going on besides coaching. So you can't sit there and watch the film as much as you would like to, but definitely got into it with the coaches. The good thing, we had an extra week, so we was able to introduce Howard last week, so the kids will be prepared for it. You know, similar offense, some big guys up front. You know, veteran quarterback has started the last couple of years. Can definitely run the football hard. You know, defensively, some big bodies. You know, usually the MEAC is a little bit bigger than some of the SWAC schools, and so we'll have to counter that with some athleticism. But you know, definitely a worthy opponent. And you know, I mean, Howard is the Mecca. You know, I mean, I love Alabama State. You love Texas Southern, but you know, if you think about Howard and going on that campus, and I've been up there before, it's the Mecca. You got to give it to them. You know, I mean, you got to give them the respect that is due. And they put out a lot of great football players and a lot of just people in general. You know, vice presidents from Howard. So I mean, you have to lock in. So for us at Alabama State, man, it's a great challenge to play against a school with such a tradition.
Yeah, I'm definitely, me and my team is gonna be there. You know, we're gonna probably try to get to you and interview a couple more of your players and a couple of assistant coaches. You know, and then I'm gonna keep Jay Walker quiet for you, because you know he gonna be there with the 5 reasons why Howard is 5 reasons why Howard's homecoming. So I'm gonna be on about that.
So you know he has because I don't remember him doing a Howard game recently. So this is probably one of the first Howard games that he's done.
Right.
And so, but yeah, man, it's gonna every Give Me Five is gonna be 5 Howard facts about everything. So you know, you're gonna get a whole. If you're a Howard alumni, I guarantee you, Jay Walker gonna shout you out this weekend.
That's right. Hey, I gotta ask the question. You know,
what's that?
First time head coach. I know why of Eddie Robinson Jr. You know, 2-time All-American, 2-time Player of the Year, walk on, play pro ball. What I really love about you, Eddie, is that you're alumni, because I am a big, and you're HBCU man. I'm big on that. Mm-hmm. You smart, you're intelligent. Hey, why not you? Tell me why Eddie Robinson Jr.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, man, is I think you got to have a passion for this job. Like if you wouldn't do it for free, and I don't think you'll be good at it. And a whole lot of what I'm doing is mentoring and developing relationships with kids, but lifelong relationships. So, I mean, that old school going in there screaming at a kid, "Hey, this is what you're about to do, or else." with that Generation Z, that ain't gonna work. They're gonna go with the or else option, which is gonna be we're gonna transfer or not play. So we kind of took that other approach where we came in here and developed relationships with the kids. We talked about family and how's your family, how's school going, and then finally we start talking about football. And so to me, once you develop that relationship with those kids and mentor them, then I can come back and now I can coach you hard because now you're not taking it personal. A lot of the younger kids, they take everything so personal. So, but once you know that I love you and I care about you and I'm invested in you, then I'm gonna get in your butt and I'm gonna coach you hard. You know what I'm saying? But then I'm gonna come back and say, hey, this is why I'm doing that. So I think once we got past that, I think you have to realize that it's a different type of athlete. I have 3 kids, one on a team, so I'm kind of invested in that. Everything I've been doing with the youth, high school, college level kids. So it kind of put me in that mindset of understanding the psyche of what the kids are going through right now. So I think when you can relate to the kids, then you get the buy-in. So football wise, I mean, I've kind of been that coach on the field my whole career. Every time I approached the game, I approached it from a standpoint of what could go wrong. Helping the coaches call the timeouts and those type of things. Just always thinking about the next play. I was messing with Greg Williams the other day. We played the Eagles one time in the late December game right before the playoffs, and we didn't play good defensively, but we won the games. I remember going to the bus, mad because like, man, we didn't play good. We can't get ready for the playoffs. He's like, hey, look here, man, we won the damn game. Calm down. So I'm gonna try to be that guy that, the win is the most important thing. And so you never apologize for winning, how you won, who you beat, with everything like that. So I'm just trying to put that into the kids. Like, hey, once we win, man, it's nothing like going through a hard week and a hard, tough fought game, and then you come out with a victory. Because then it's like that team accomplishment. So I mean, that's the biggest part that you love about it. And you could get kids, kids and adults all buy into your vision, into one goal, and be a good leader. And that's the part that I'm bringing to the table. I feel like, Coach Markham has taught me so much about that. To be a good leader, you have to be a good listener. So I got here and just listened. Every kid had a different story about what his why is. And so if I can't ask you, so what do you want out of this? Because the kid, we know what we want as coaches, but if you can't sell the kid that he's going to get out of it what he wants, that he can't fulfill his dream or his goal, then he's not going to buy into you. And as soon as you don't have success, then he's going to go the other way. So I think to me, I can tell you a personal story about every kid on the team. And so and that's what you have to do. And it's not about, hey, come sit in my office and have a formal talk. It's like, hey, man, you're at lunch. Hey, man, what's going on? Sit down. What's going on with you? Hey, you from, one kid's from Augusta, Georgia. Hey, man, I've been to the Masters. Oh, coach, man, I used to work at the Masters. Da, da, da. Then so that conversation has a whole new, but those little talking points, it just goes in the direction and you don't know where it's going to go. But, and I kind of found it, I'm going to tell you, I have 3 sons. And so we would always be together. So the conversations was different. So in my youngest son, I said, man, this kid doesn't never talk. He's a quiet kid. So I take him out with just me and him one time, right? So he talks the whole time. So I realized, man, he does talk, but I have to get him away from his brother so he can talk about what's on his mind. And so I can talk to this whole team, but eventually I have to get one-on-one with each kid and let him explain to me what he's thinking, because every kid has a different why. And then you have to reach him on a one-on-one basis about, hey, what is your individual why? Let me help you make your why come true. And if you get them to all buy into that, then I think you can be successful. Coach, you hit that mute button, man. I can't hear you again.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you. You locked in.
Yeah. The thing about it is I love your philosophy, and of course, I've been in the business and around the business a long time. And when you talk to coaches, they don't talk about that. The first thing they start talking about is the X's and O's. So I love the philosophy. We kind of breeze over the 2 important guys. It's right there on your shoulders. And I had opportunity to play against them as well. Let's talk about Coach Ruffin. I mean, this guy has started 3-4 different new programs. He's bounced around. He's an AD, a head coach. I mean, we are great friends. What's your thoughts on Coach Ruffin?
Yeah, I mean, he was, one of the first guys I reached out to. The AD knew him well, from being at Jackson, and I knew him also just from broadcasting games and just, all, back when Jackson first reached into that Power Five transfer portal. It wasn't the transfer portal, it was just the, transfer down and don't lose any, don't have to sit out a year. I mean, he was instrumental in really getting a lot of those guys with Coach Comergy to come to Jackson. So I knew about the success he had at that level. But I mean, I think just from a guy who understands compliance, understands the whole business side of being a head coach. And I'm one of those guys, I want to know it all. So I don't want to just say, hey, you do it and tell me that it's done. I mean, actually, we have a meeting scheduled today, so we could just look over the scholarships and preparing for next year and all those type of things. So, I mean, he's that guy that kind of keeps me a step ahead from the business aspect of it. Things that, you can get it wrong. And if you're worrying about that, then it's taking away time from you doing the X's and O's and building a team, et cetera, et cetera. But, he's that guy that I can go to and say, hey, coach, how'd you do it this way? And if he doesn't know the answer, he can get it real fast. And so that's kind of his role on the team. And just got to have that veteran guy in the room. When things are going this way or that way, or you're reading the pulse of the team, that guy can say, hey, man, hey, coach, you might want to try this or try that. And so, and I'm not one of those ego guys. Another guy I talked to, Coach Frazier, used to be the head coach at Prairie View, won a championship there. I mean, before I took the job, and even now, it's like with me not having Coach Markham to call, I mean, between Ruffin, Frazier, it's those type of guys. And I told you, man, we get one of them long, dark nights when I'm looking at my cup of coffee, not knowing where to go. I'm going to call you too. Hey, coach, man. The thing about coaching, man, is it's unique situations that come up. And, we had the unfortunate deal when one of our players, passed away in the dorm this summer. And so me having to reach out to make that phone call as a head coach to that young man's parents, it's like I reached out to a lot of coaches, be like, man, how do I address the team? What do I do? And a lot of even older coaches, I mean, been in this thing 20, 30 years, coach, but I ain't never had to do that before. That's a hard one. And for your first year, that's a real hard one. So it's one of those things that, in coaching, man, it's like everything comes back to the head coach. And people are like, man, you had to call the family. I was like, yeah, man, I'm the head coach. Like the kid was, technically up here playing football and in the summer. So, I mean, as you know, the head coach and the quarterback gets credit for all the good and they take blame for all of the bad. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's kind of, that's part of it. You know what I'm saying? That's what you signed up for.
Yeah. What about your operations guy? Had
Coach
opportunity
Clark,
to face him at Fort, what is that? Fort Valley, down there. Coach Clark, man, he used to make me nervous because he used to wear a bow tie.
He had a bow tie on the thing.
Yeah. So when I finally got up on him, I said, "Oh man, you ain't that big."
Man, he's one of those guys, man. Coach Clark has been around for a long time. I first met him when they had the HBCU Bowl down in New Orleans, and he was still coaching, about 15 years ago. And I was living in Atlanta, so I went to a couple of his games at Fort Valley when he was the head coach and AD. And so, you have a guy that has that combination and a lot of experience. And so, him doing like some football ops stuff, just, chief of staff, just kind of seeing what I don't see. And I think that's the biggest thing about coaching. It's impossible to see everything. You want to be everywhere and see everything. And I'm one of those guys. I'm gonna sit there and have lunch with the players. I'm gonna talk to them before the tape line. So I like to be involved with the players. So you need to have that guy who can see those other things too that you may miss, and somebody that you can bounce things off of. Like, hey man, I think we should move practice up. What about moving this? What about a schedule? So I mean, he's been real big. Another guy, Alex Jackson. He's my O-line coach, but he's a guy that's been around. Was at Prairie View, at FAM. Tennessee, played at Georgia. So he's another guy that you can really count on that can put my schedule together and do all of those type of things. So then you can really focus on working on the relationships and the fundraising, going to all that stuff. The interviews like this. Of course, if I'm doing this, I ain't coaching, right? So it's like it's a whole lot of that goes that takes you away. To me, it's like I can't wait till the game day when we get on. And I was like this as a player too. Like once you get to the stadium and you look at the countdown, we 2 hours, 15 minutes before the game, then you make your last whatever, got your tickets, then you take your phone, you turn it off, you put it in the locker room. Now everything is just football. It's like the rest of the world doesn't matter because I call it football time. So now we're on like the football time to the countdown to the game. And for those like 5 hours, to me, the world is perfect. because you don't really care about anything else that's going on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's 100% football. And so I can't wait till I get to that moment where you can just lock in and just have football. You know, because as a head coach, even during practice, I still have my phone in my pocket because the AD or the president call you like, hey, let me go talk to this guy. So-and-so, while you have a scout on the sideline. So you're still not 100% in football time. But once you get into the game, then it's like the rest of the world doesn't matter. It's just you in football. And that's just like, man, that to me, that's like, that's unbeatable, man. I love that. You know, so nothing else matters. Any problem you have, you deal with it after the game. You know what I'm saying?
What you mentioned about scouting, do we have any NFL prospects that maybe be coming out next year?
Yeah, man, we have Keenan Isaac, man. He's long corner, man. He's about 6'4". He's like right there. I mean, he's the guy I think that the scouts really like because of his length. He just has to get his hands on some balls. I told him, man, don't leave the SWAC and pass break up. Get some picks. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, he's been working his butt off, man. One of those guys that's after practice, just getting the extra in. Natron Culpepper, my other corner. He's a guy that can be a difference maker. Has played a lot of football because of the COVID year. So both of those guys are on that extra year. And I think Brandon Gaddy is the other senior that we have. Defensive tackle, you know, transferred from University of Maryland, and you know, played a lot in the rotation. But I think he's a kid that can take his game up to the next level. I mean, he's 6'4", 300 pounds. He can run and do a backflip, so he's super athletic. You know,
wow.
just a great kid, man. Started off as a quarterback, kind of like Titus Howard, and now he grew into a D lineman. And I think Santo Dunn is the other guy. I mean, he's the transfer. He's the Tariq Cohen. I mean, you know, he's 5'8", 5'9" on a good day, but his explosiveness, the things he's doing in practice. I'm like, all right, I seen enough of you. Just say it at the Saturday. But I mean, you're talking about punt returner, kick returner, can play in the backfield, can line up in the slot, can just do everything. So I mean, playing against those guys like the Meggets going way back, but even like the Darren Sproles, if you look at Parcells and those type of teams, to me, you always got to have that kind of guy. You know, that guy when he comes into the game, everybody's like, oh. He's in here to do something, you know what I'm saying? So we'll put it like this. He was a grad transfer, so he came from Morehouse, so we only have him for 1 year. So we're already looking for that next one. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, find me another Santo Dunn for next year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, you know, the main man is next to you. You probably don't, well, I guess you do know is Harry, your offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
You know, he come with a lot of experience in the SIAC. You know, this is really his first coordinator job up on the 1AA level. Believe me, it's a difference.
Yeah.
You know, if you had to rank your team where you most strong at, offense, defense, and special teams, how would you rank them 1, 2, 3 going into this week?
I would probably say the offensive line is probably, you know, as a group. And so if those guys can get going, I mean, it's a veteran group. I mean, most of them are going into their 4th year, but they still have 2 years left just because of that COVID year. But we still played that spring. So you're talking about they still got those 6 games to get in and get better. And I think they're gonna they'll have the offense moving at a high pace because we should be able to run the football. You know, of course, you want to have that good balance, but if in doubt, call a run. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna be old school like that. I mean, if you get 3, 4, 5 yards, then why are you passing? You know, so I mean, you know, football has evolved a little, but it comes back to blocking and tackling. You know, so I think other than that, I mean, special teams and defense is a lot of the same because it's those same players. But I feel like from the spring, the competition we have guys who they were starting in the spring and now they're starting on special teams now. So that means that the team has gotten better because we've elevated the level of competition. So, you know, at special teams, I think we have guys who are dedicated special teams guys who we feel like are good enough to be starters also, but they understand their role. Because, you know, to me on punt, you have a couple guys who are out there thinking, I should be playing. You know what I'm saying? And so we have guys out there who can play and start, but they're committed to being great at special teams. And so, I mean, I most of my sayings are going to come from Coach Markham. And one of the things he say, if you can't kick, you can't win. So, I mean, you got to be able to kick. And so we're going to be good in the kicking game. I'm sure we've put, like I've had some special teams only days in training camp where the emphasis, you know, you did 30 minutes of individuals, this and this, then the rest was all special teams. So we've we've emphasized special teams. So we've put the work in, and now we have to get the results. But we've put the work in the special teams. So I feel like, that's going to be the strength of our team. Running the football and then great special teams.
Well, those two things that you got to be winning two of them on game day to be successful.
Yeah.
Coach, first of all, I got to thank you. This is about HBCUs. The HBCU coach, we're going to get off of you and let you rest for a minute. Now we're going to think about the HBCU coaches, man.
Right.
One of the reasons why I started this show was about promoting HBCU coaches. I think we get the bad end of the stick. We are what I call the front line guys. We don't have all the big desks and the cars, and of course we don't make the money. And to me, that type of guy can go coach anywhere. But we become an extent because I think that we don't honor and our degrees from HBCUs. Some of the philosophy is that we believe their ice is colder than our ice. These are the things we got working against you. 95% of all the athletic directors on all levels in college are white. So not saying it's a racial thing, but it's an unawareness thing. And people gonna hire and feel comfortable with people they hire. And the biggest thing, and the most of all, on both levels, is that we as Blacks coaches, we don't hire each other.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a problem. What's your thought on that?
No, man, I think I get your text threads and I see the language going back and forth, and I think you hit it on the nose. And I've been I've been saying the same thing from the time that I was broadcasting and doing games. And so it's one of those things that you have to talk about, because at our schools it seems like we'll reach out to a Power 5 guy who was an analyst, like literally, and saying just because he was at a Power 5 school, and then he should automatically become a head coach, and so so I think that is one of those big things that we do have to realize. What I tell my kids, and sitting in my meeting room, I'm like, my president went to Alabama State. He has all three of his degrees from Alabama State. And my AD went to Alcorn. So he's an HBCU product, I'm an Alabama State product. Coach Reggie Barlow was a head coach at Alabama State, and at Virginia State, before he went to the XFL. So I'm like, there's no reason why out of this room, 110 kids, I should have either the next president or the next head coach at Alabama State, or a future president and a future head coach, because we're showing that we are a school that will hire our own. So now you have to go out there and get yourself prepared and ready to do the job. But I want them to get into the mindset of, hey, my goal is to come back and be the head football coach at Alabama State. We have a lot of coaches, a lot of great coaches that Alabama State has produced at all levels, and so and I love it that that we are a school that we do reach back and hire our own. But like you said, the presidents and the ADs have to have that relationship with the HBCUs. And so, Coach Eddie Robinson would always say that, they make us do so much. We do so much for so long with so little that they think we could do everything with absolutely nothing. You know what I'm saying? And I'm preaching the same thing you're saying. It's like, I don't know if Nick Saban could come to Mississippi Valley and be successful. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I know that I could take McNair and send him to Ole Miss or Mississippi State with all of those resources, and he would be even better than he has been at Alcorn because of the lack of resources. And so, yeah, you're right. Like we could move up and do those jobs, but there's no way that they could move down with the limited resources and do what we're doing. And so I think the biggest thing that you're seeing now is that when we do get our good coaches at the HBCU level, then all of them get taken and they're moving up and they become analysts because they can be great recruiters. They have the great relationships. And so, we want to get those guys and cultivate the young guys to come up through the HBCU ranks. But like you said, go all the way up to be head coach. You don't want them to feel like that they have to leave to go to the PWI to kind of stamp themselves as bona fide, and then they have to come back to the HBCU. But I think that topic that you're presenting is one that we have to talk about. And whenever you talk about black, white, or racial issues, is always uncomfortable, but it's one of those things that you have to get past the uncomfortableness of it to make it better for everybody. So.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that, when I started back in the mid 80s of coaching, and they had these black guys coaching at these Power Five schools, they really wouldn't even talk to you. So now I see those same guys 30, 40 years later is either out of work or trying to get at some HBCU
Right,
school when
right,
back in the
right.
day. And what they didn't understand is they were killing us then. It's about each one teach one. We got to be able to bring one with us. So if that one is out of work, then I can come with the next one. And what had happened is we ain't no better than we were back in the 80s than we are now. You
Yeah.
got less PWI black coaches. And now all of a sudden, everybody want to filtrate HBCU school.
Correct.
Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, Dion is doing a great job. Don't get me wrong. Coach Hugh Jackson is doing a great job. But it's like, oh yeah, we're ready to play some football now.
Right.
But
Yeah.
hell, when Eddie Robinson and W.C. Gordon and Markham and Gunslinger were producing pros. Now,
Yeah.
was we getting 5A pros, 5A high school players then? The answer was no. Jerry Rice wasn't no 5A. But listen, those guys coach pros who are also Hall of Famers.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to be better. We got to feel better about ourselves, and we'll do better.
Now, I think you hit it right on the head. I mean, you taking the Nis Williams. He was.
Oh,
he was,
wow.
He was in the band, walked on that Southern. You know what I'm saying? But then but you get, like you said, you get a Marino Chasm, and you talking about an NFL Hall of Famer. And I mean, you look at me. I mean, it's just. I mean, you can go on and
you was a
on.
walk-on.
I was a walk-on, yeah. But the one thing that those coaches instilled with us was hard work and dedication. Like I could guarantee you that anybody that went through 4 years of Coach Houston Markham, you will not be homeless on the street. You're gonna have some work ethic. You know what I'm saying? You might have 3 jobs, but you're gonna know how to go out there and go to work. Because if you couldn't work, you would have quit. But those guys put a work ethic in those players, and we rised way above, where we probably should have. If I'd have went to Alabama, Auburn, I might not have had that work ethic because I would have gotten so much. So, I mean, you have to appreciate everything about it. And so, and I think the biggest thing for me is like, to me, this is like the destination. Like I want to be here 10 or 12 years. I'm not, I had opportunities to coach in the NFL. I could have reached out for that, but I don't want to coach that. To me, it's like, it's almost like it's a mentorship. It's something that I've been given so much and blessed so much that I feel like I'm just pouring everything I have back into the kids. And so I want to be here and I don't want to go anywhere else. And I think you have to be careful of getting those guys that are saying, hey, let me go to HBCU for a year or two to get myself ready. It's like a stepping stone. Like if you don't really want to be here, then don't come. But if you want to be in an HBCU and get into the culture and love what you're doing and give everything back to the kids and to the program, I mean, yeah, we know the salaries aren't going to be at those levels, but I think the reward that I'm going to get, like the most precious thing I have is my time. And so I'm giving up my time to these kids. Like, yeah, I could have wrote a check and stayed at home in Houston and kept doing what I was doing, but I decided to give my time, and that's more valuable than anything I have. So.
Yeah. Well, you hit one of the things on the head. You talked about the presidents and athletic directors, and the thing about HBCUs, it's got to be HBCUs, like it's got to be PWI schools. And why is there, and people don't understand, there's white folks in other nationalities that go to black schools, just like they go to white schools. But to come to an HBCU, it's like you say, you got to be invested. Because that's the kind of people that we need to. And when we get away from that, then we start making mistakes about HBCUs. I believe that most people on campus that work there, it should be almost 50% of people who graduated from there, because they know what it takes to keep the school going in the right direction. And I love what you said about, this is where I want to be, and be careful about bringing somebody else in and making us a stepping stone.
Yep, I agree. We 100%. So, and it's kind of a tricky topic because, PWIs, we've had some great relationships with those. A lot of good, black coaches have come through the PWIs and went all the way up to those levels. So, I mean, it's not like you don't want us to go there, but it's like, hey, let's love our own. You know what I'm saying? Let's be appreciative of what we have, and you got to protect it, and you can't take it for granted. You can't just think that over the next 50 years, the HBCUs will still be here. We have to fight and scratch for it every day. I think of Marino Chasm, everything he did when he was on the NCAA committee to try to get the automatic bid for basketball and those type of things. People just assume that just happened. Like they just say, hey, here you go, SWAC, you get all the. Now we had to fight for that. You know what I'm saying? And it'll be taken away if you don't keep fighting for it. So, and I think that's what I love about Charles McClellan, because he's a SWAC commissioner who understands the SWAC, who came through the SWAC, and he loves being here. Like it's something that he's passionate about, and he wants to see every school in the conference to be great. And so I think when you get person, that like you said, we kind of grew him up ourselves. He was at Texas Southern, at Prairie View. He knows it from ground up, and he cares about it. He's indoctrinated to he'll take it personal if the SWAC doesn't do well. And it's kind of like me. If Alabama State doesn't well, I take it personal. I'm not gonna sleep good at night. It's not just about the check clear. You know what I'm saying? I'm invested in this. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I do what I do because I'm invested in it, Coach. And I got you. I just, my thing is we special, man. We so special. We got great bands. We got great football. It's entertainment at its best. And we need to love that and embrace that. You know what I mean? We got big tailgating going on outside of the stadium.
Yeah, my motto, and just kind of getting off topic a little bit. I started a couple years ago because I think Black people are so unique as far as us being trendsetters. We do something and everybody call it like, oh, it's ghetto, it's hood. Why are you doing that? Like when we was kids, what we started putting big house speakers in the back of Chevrolets, right? So we riding around with all the music in the trunks. Oh, that's ghetto, that's horrible. All of a sudden, the Tahoes and everything, they come with speakers now, right? We started that. We started putting 20-inch, 22-inch wheels on the cars again. Now they come with that, right? So everything we create is ghetto and hood, but then when it goes mainstream, they sell it back to us like we didn't create it. So my motto is like, let Black people be Black. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think you apologize for it. So I do the same thing with the HBCUs. Everything about the HBCUs I love. You know what I'm saying? I love the band. I love the honeybees. I love the stingettes. I love the cheerleaders. The whole experience. And I tell the kids, it's some people who are not buying their ticket to see the football game. I'm okay with that. As long as you buy the ticket and come in, I just want you in the game. If you came to see the band, cheer for the band. You know what I'm saying? Because I love the band too. I hate that I'm gonna miss the halftime. No, that's the coach. So I mean, it's all part of the experience. And I think it's not just when you go to an HBCU football game, it is not just the football team that you're going for. And I totally get that. And I think that's what we have to sell. Don't just say it's the football. Yeah, when now you go to Alabama, it's just the football game. When you come to us, it's the tailgate, it's the pregame, it's the fifth quarter, it's the whole deal that you're coming for. And I think that's what makes us unique. And we shouldn't shy away from it. I think that's what we should embrace,
Coach, that was your last remark, man. I appreciate you. Thank you. I'll see you down there. We'll get in on Friday. We'll definitely try to see you right before the game, man. Coach, I love you, boy. You always been great to me, man. I wish you all the luck this year, except for one game, of course. I believe maroon and gray. But hey, I love you, man. I appreciate you, man. Good luck this week.
Absolutely. Look forward to seeing you. You always got a welcome home in Montgomery. So whenever you come through, just let me know.
Thank you much, Coach. Tell my guys I said hello.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
Yes. All right. Another HBCU Stroll episode with the coach, the Hornets' own Eddie Robinson. I want to thank you guys again. We kind of ran a little overtime. But again, as I always say, if you feel yourself losing it and you feel yourself at the end of the rope, you tie a knot and hold on tight because ain't nobody bad like you.
Sybil Wilkes with what you need to know. Today is Monday, August 22nd, 2022. Number 1. Elizabeth Freeman, the black woman who won her freedom in an 18th century courtroom, was celebrated with the unveiling of a statue Sunday. This was the 241st anniversary of her legal liberation from slavery. The 8-foot-tall statue was revealed in Sheffield, Massachusetts, in a celebration of the wise beyond her years former slave. The ceremony, led by local leaders including Diane Patrick and her husband, former Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick, honored the trailblazer who challenged and won the change of her slave status 80 years before the Emancipation Proclamation. Number 2. The murder trial of former Fort Worth, Texas police officer Aaron Dean appears to be moving closer to a start date. The white former policeman is charged in the 2019 shooting death of African-American woman Tatiana Jefferson in her home. Last week, the latest judge assigned to the case, George Gallagher, has signed a scheduling order with a trial start date before the end of this year. Number 3, First Lady Jill Biden has tested negative for COVID-19 and will leave South Carolina, where she is isolated since vacationing with President Joe Biden, and join him at their Delaware Beach home. The White House announced Tuesday the 71-year-old First Lady, who, like her husband, has been twice vaccinated and twice boosted with the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine, had tested positive for the coronavirus. She first had symptoms Monday. Number 4. On July 17th, 3 Denver, Colorado police officers followed 21-year-old Jordan Waddy, who is black, after suspecting he had a gun during an argument in an area with several bars. In the released police body camera videos, Waddy is seen throwing a gun and putting his hands up. As police confronted him, officers allege Waddy pointed a gun at them and fired 7 shots. On August 16th, Denver District Attorney Beth McCann announced she would open a grand jury investigation into the shooting. Number 5. Apple has regularly provided updates to owners of their products, and people usually install the updates at their leisure. This past week, the latest update, iOS 15.6.1, came with a warning. Don't wait. Update. The tech giant is advising owners of Apple products to heed the advice of security experts that an update is necessary to protect all personal information stored on devices. Here's your daily inspiration from Yogi's Jewels. Maturity comes from understanding that being right at the expense of a relationship is just wrong. Join me today, live on YouTube and Facebook at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, with the ones, the onlys, comedians extraordinaire, Chris Paul and Huggy Lowdown, and social justice activist Coy Malone, as we discuss today's top headlines and more. Thank you to our What You Need to Know partners, the American Heart Association and Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, Incorporated. To subscribe to my free daily newsletter, please visit SybylWilkes.com. Be informed, be empowered.
Hello, my name is Laura Williams here in the new car sales department at Bayway Cadillac of the Woodlands. We've got a lot of great deals going on for the month of August. Right now, only $589 a month for a 36-month lease on an XT6. You can find that and so many great deals here at Bayway Cadillac of the Woodlands.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.